what's going on, guys? I'm Nashon. It's your boy King Caleb, and you are watching Winning in Life, man. This is it. This is another phenomenal episode, and today we have two very special guests. If you guys could introduce yourselves, please.
Yes, my name is Kaylan Boss, and I'm from The Visionary Boss. Hello to all those listening. My name is Kat Stiles, author of Girl Who Hurt You.
Girl Who Hurt You, right here. We have the books right here. So, how do you guys know each other? I'm kidding.
Wow.
Yeah. You can't tell, you know, they're kind of twins.
Are you guys related, right?
We're third cousins.
Wow.
I can see that. Wow.
Yeah, twice removed. Yeah.
You know, this is something very interesting. Girl Who Hurt You?
Boy Who Hurt You.
Wow.
I mean, how much time do you have? So the story of Girl Who Hurt You, a lot of people like to assume it's completely about me, but you know, I have to also acknowledge the others that impacts and touches. So Girl Who Hurt You is really about everyone. I feel like everyone can relate to experiencing heartbreak or some type of disappointment or dissatisfaction. And so it's really the choice. What you do with that hurt. Do you harbor it and stay stagnant, or do you use that as a catalyst for a revolution within? Love that.
Yeah, that's pretty fire.
That was
To
the...
be honest. Like, I feel like that's kind of a theme right now, just in my own life, is like forgiveness and letting go, because you really can't,
Move on.
Well, you can't keep that in.
Yeah.
No.
You know, like, I guess maybe you feel like you have some sense of control over the situation by like holding on to it and like, oh, they did this to me, you know, you're justifying the pain, but really like you can let it go. It doesn't have to be part of your identity. It doesn't have to be, you know, your whole life story.
And the interesting thing about that, I remember watching a video a few months ago, and someone said the reason why we hold on to our pain so much is to justify it. So when someone hurts us, it could be like years later, and we're still having like excuses to hold on. It's like you do that to, you know, make it permanent in your mind that it did impact you. But yes, hurt impacts you, but you have to self-govern yourself. And I feel like control the way that you navigate with that hurt and pain. Because I know some people who have a really difficult time like letting go, and it really doesn't have anything to do with like your age or like your background or your gender even. It's like both men and women like hold on, harbor to a lot of emotions and pain. And it's like letting go doesn't mean that the pain that you suffered didn't happen, or your feelings aren't valid. It's just more so like you have to be able to be like the ruler in your life and, you know, control like the emotions and the energy, because we only get one shot at life.
Wow, so basically taking ownership.
Yes.
Because right now we live in a society where there's no self-accountability. It's
No.
always him or she or whatever.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So like, it's all about taking self-accountability, because if you still hold on to that hurt, a lot of times we could go further in life if we let go of that hurt
Mm-hmm.
and forgive. Sometimes that might be that one thing that's blocking us from reaching us to the next level.
Yes, I think where we hurt ourselves is when we do experience hurt or something that's disappointing. When you spend so much time just really living in it and not going through the process of healing, you are holding yourself back, because it's like this, the same way we have creative blocks or like certain blocks in our life that prevent us moving to the next stage, not going through the process of acknowledging the hurt and trying to move past it and getting to the better business of resolving it is just going to keep holding you back. And I think sometimes we find more comfort in being in the hurt, because that is a comfortable space that you have control over, because you have control over how long you want to sit there. But I think it's a greater challenge, and it's much more rewarding to actually go through the work. And the work is not fun, it's not pretty, but it is necessary to get to the next stage.
Wow. I see why you're an author.
The work is not fun, man.
It's not.
Recently, I was talking to Kim about it. Like recently, I had to really think about like forgiving my father, because there was just some resentment there for like years, and I'm like, that's just something I can't continue to carry around. Like I'm 26 now, and I can't be nah. Like it's time to take ownership and keep moving forward.
How did you start the process, if you want to share? Or maybe just like some general things to get to that place where you felt comfortable, or acknowledge the fact that you had to make a change, like emotionally?
some good questions.
Yeah, all these
Deep.
questions.
That's pretty deep. Yo. You ready for that heat?
Well,
You can spare us the nitty-gritty details, but just like a gloss over.
Or if you could help someone in the same dealing with parents and like, you know, navigating those feelings as you get older. It's like a common theme in a lot of people's lives. So to anyone who's watching, like going through that with their family, parents, what would you say?
Yeah. I think just kind of talking about it, I've been kind of praying about it too, like, you know, I want to get to the next level, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be successful. And whether it's like my friends or one of my friends, I think he mentioned it, you know, Austin, I told him, oh, you know, I don't really, you know, mess with my dad. Or like, I think it was also Father's Day, like Father's Day came and I was like, you know, I don't really want to like do anything. And I think, you know, people were asking me like, hey, you want to do anything, Father? I'm like, nah, not really, you know. I ended up working, but, you know, I wanted to work because I didn't want to like do anything with him. And I think that like, that was kind of like a wake up call. You know,
Yeah.
I should probably, you know, I sent him a text and, you know, just like that. But then after that, like my friend was talking about like, hey man, maybe you should, you know, fix that. And I was like, you know, so I definitely, you know, was praying about it more. And, you know, sometimes, you know, there's different ways to release things like journaling, like talking to people about it. You know, some people cry about it. You know,
Yeah.
depending on like who it is, but you know, as long as you try to do like something with it, you can't keep holding that in.
Yeah, I feel like we're the generation of being like so self-aware because there's so many resources, and I always think back to like, you know, we're in our mid-20s right now, and a lot of our parents had us like in their mid-late 20s, so you're like in that exact same spot where they were.
That's just so weird.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So then when you're in that spot, you have to think like, you know, in a few years you have to having children of your own, so then it's like you want to do like that healing inner work, so when that time comes like for your kids and you raise them,
Right.
you don't want it to have like that generational trauma and like hurt, which is so like natural and innate sometimes.
And you know, when you don't heal, the cycle continues. Your kids.
Right.
And then it's this whole messed up society. I feel like a lot of reason that we have issues in this society is because a lot of people have not healed.
Yes.
And they carry that on towards everyone else.
Absolutely. And just to chime in, I think even doing the work to simply sending a text might seem simple to others, but that can definitely be a hard thing. And I feel like that's definitely a taboo. We don't really talk about that, how to get past certain hurt from people who are supposed to be like the closest ones to you, like family, your parents. I feel like that's an issue that's kind of skated around, but unfortunately, it's the reality. A lot of people don't have close ties to those closest to them because of maybe projections or things that happen in childhood or later in life. But I think that is beautiful that you acknowledge the feelings around that. You were receptive to like maybe others' opinions, but at the end of the day, any feelings you have about your relationship with your father is valid. But I think it is really beautiful to get to the work of wanting to have some type of resolution and bridge that gap. And it is a process, but I think just even having the courage to start there is speaking volumes.
It is.
And how would you guys recommend someone? What does the healing process look like?
Okay. Well, I would say every situation is so different. So even like someone who's listening in, they could relate to what Nishan was saying, but there could be different things that are modifications or things that reflect more of their life that are different from his. But I would say just acknowledging it and being honest. So you need to be really honest with yourself, like look in the mirror and like, hey, this is bothering me. Like I can understand like, you know, someone may have done something or aside of the family, there's a certain type of energy that I don't really relate with and that is I'm grown out of, but just accepting, acknowledging it. And then, you know, we have options in life. So we don't even have two options. We have like multiple options. Multiple options.
Right.
So
I like that.
yeah, so you alleviate that pressure from like, oh, this is the right way or this is the right way, and just think of it from a broad mind. Like it takes like steps and levels to it. Like, you know, you reaching out to your dad, or if you have conflict with your mom or like a step parent or a close family figure who is like parental in a way, you can acknowledge and accept, okay, we have different communication styles, we have different outlooks in life, and okay, that's fine. And then have boundaries, I would say, because maybe it's not completely healthy for you to attach yourself in a close, intimate relationship that's like really emotional and personal, but just having boundaries and like kind of figuring out a way to communicate with them. You know, communication style, it varies with everyone.
It varies with everyone.
I like
Absolutely.
the boundaries.
That's true. What'd you say?
The boundaries piece, because that's like the whole thing with forgiveness. I guess my opinions about it and how I approach it are constantly evolving, because I guess where I used to be in a place where forgiveness seemed like I'm completely letting you off the hook, and it's, you can say sorry, or maybe I have to be the bigger person. I have to just like create some type of resolution to get past it. Then I'm still kind of left in the thick of it. My feelings are hurt, and it's like, you know, I need some space. I need some time to process this and to figure out how I'm going to rekindle this relationship. But I recently learned, I learned a lot of things. So forgiveness, I think for me, it's, you know, the act of acknowledging, like, from all sides, like, what happened, why is this triggering me? And when I forgive someone, it's not more so letting them off the hook, but it's really like, hey, I can't afford to be in this place where I'm like tied down or bound to like these feelings of resentment or whatever it may be. So I have to let go. And my boundary is maybe I don't rekindle that relationship. So I think with like even with friends or whatever situation, sometimes it's always the assumption forgiveness means we continue where we were. But no, honestly, it's like might take like a reset or some restorative act. And I think it's like on your end, your part, the most you can do is forgive. And the other person, you know, you don't have to necessarily let them back into your life to like the highest capacity they were occupying before, because your feelings are valid and some things are just not cool. Sometimes people break the principle, but you know, you can forgive, but you will never forget, and you can set that boundary, and you also decide when you want to act accordingly. And that boundary is not a forever permanent, you're out of my life, but it's like on my terms when I'm ready to let you back in, and to what capacity.
That's very, very good.
Oh, it's amazing. Like, I think for me, that's kind of like, oh, if you mess up, you're gone.
I'm still hiking like that. One strike, you're out.
There's levels to it. So what were you doing? There's levels to it. Sometimes it's like, you don't want to communicate about it anymore.
It depends on the situation, and for me, and it depends on the person. If the person really did something bad, I'm like, dang, I hurt. Obviously, like you were saying, Kat, I don't forget, but, you know, I forgive, but we don't have to hang out. We're not buddy-buddy.
I will never forget.
And there's certain people, you know, they did something, but it was like nothing major, but, you know, me.
But also, it's like, who's to define, is there really like a system of defining, oh, this is tier 1 of hurt, this is tier 2 of hurt? I think sometimes it's like, you really cross the line.
That's true, exactly.
It could be a small thing or a big thing, but it's still a thing.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Principle.
It's all about the principle. So, like, to me, it depends on, like, you know, the situation and stuff like that. That's just me.
And then another thing in life, it's kind of related, but you can never assume that people are understanding where you're coming from. Like, no one's a mind reader. So when someone does something, I do see the value in communicating it. It depends. Like, I feel like if it's someone you're not that close with and it's like, the bridges are kind of set ablaze, okay, that happens in life. But if it's someone that you're a little bit closer with and you already know that you have different communication styles, I don't see it hurting to like have a conversation when things go awry.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time, we misunderstand.
Yes.
And then that's where things get tangled up, or like, this person is so terrible, but this person didn't understand what they did also sometimes.
In reality, both people have flaws.
In reality, both people have flaws. We all have flaws, and there's not one perfect human being.
I respect that, because sometimes my approach would be shutting down and like cut off. But I do understand.
Cut it.
Just depending on what that relationship means to you, like actually like, hey, I'm gonna bring this to you, what you did hurt my feelings, made me feel this way. And I guess if the other party, if they're not even trying to be receptive to what you're saying or put the work in, that kind of tells it all. But I guess giving at least them the chance to hear you out and hear their feedback.
I have a question for you guys. So
I don't answer questions.
You don't answer questions? Okay. What kind of podcast is this? I was gonna say, as far as like on the topic of like forgiveness, and we're talking about like family and close friends, how about relationships? Like, have you seen yourself
Wow, can we get right into it?
Get right into it. Like, give the people what they want to hear, right? So as far as like you talking or meeting someone, maybe not exactly, and a super exclusive relationship, and let's say you see some red flags or someone does something, are you quick to shut down and to completely rid of the relationship, or do you think that there's opportunity for there to be some growth? Because we're still communicating with people, you're still understanding everyone's communication style and how they react.
All right, I'm gonna be very precise in my answer.
Okay. I love it. Let's go for it.
I'm ready.
You ready?
So I'm also gonna say there's levels to this. So
Okay.
there's different tiers of red flag. There's some non-negotiables for me before I date someone. So that wouldn't even happen. Like, okay, if these arise, like if I'm on a date and then my non-negotiables, we're not even gonna be in a relationship ever.
Can we hear some of those non-negotiables?
On the
I just hear about this point. Everyone's a little different, so I want to hear it from your perspective.
One of my non-negotiables, well, I believe in God. So
Yes.
I would want my girl to believe in God.
That would
That's
make perfect
already
sense.
a huge non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Someone that's that's respectable. Oh no, non-disrespectable. That's a non-negotiable. You can't be
So someone who's disrespectful, or then I guess I'd elaborate on that.
disrespectful towards people in general. Obviously one of the main things you can see how to treat a waitress or waiter at a restaurant, or how to treat strangers, and stuff like that, and how to treat my parents. So you can't be. I can't be concerned about
bro.
Those are pretty someone that's very caring, loving and caring.
You want someone who's loving and caring, absolutely.
Absolutely loving and caring, because I'm building a kingdom and I'm gonna be successful. So I want that person that's gonna be loving and caring for the kingdom, which is my kids, my family. So
Simp Nation. No, I'm kidding. Nothing's wrong with that.
No, it's interesting with the whole simp thing, because we're so we have our stories of our simp days.
I disagree with that. I don't.
What you mean?
Because I don't think that word has a negative connotation.
Doesn't it sugar people a lot?
But I will say we need to replace that word, because I think there's nothing wrong on both sides if it's an ideal compatibility. Sorry.
So say that again. So say that. I'm sorry.
I think there's nothing wrong if there's an ideal compatibility and there's two people who align, that you both show up for each other and you both pour into that relationship. The whole lover boy thing, I think people shouldn't be shunned or shamed for that, because relationships can be a beautiful thing. And if you find that person who really just makes your heart sing, why would you not join a choir?
Thank you.
Here's where the issue arises. A lot of time, especially men, they don't know their value. So they do, there's something wrong with showing love, obviously, but a lot of time it's not reciprocated. They're chasing after someone that doesn't want that.
That's where the overcompensation, I don't think that's just
from
only from a male standpoint. I think even for both sides, if a woman may not know her self-worth, she may overcompensate in other areas. I think it's just a human thing. I think they need to be validated. So I think it's not a gender thing. I think it's a human thing.
And can I add to that?
Yes.
I've seen both people, a girl and a guy, who are both attractive, competent, educated, emotionally intelligent, and they come together and it's a magnet. It is intensified over the supreme and max of which you would imagine to be a healthy relationship. And it's I've seen a guy who I follow, he was found in a relationship and he is on cloud nine. The girl, she has her own life, they have separate lives, they do well, they come together, and he's happy. And that's what I think what a relationship is about. Why would you be with someone? I think that there comes a point in time where you have to be accountable. So if you're seeking people who do not seek you, I can understand. I can understand why there's an imbalance. So when it's two people who are excited about each other, who are excited about their own lives first and foremost, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I feel if I'm in a relationship, I want to water. What is it? Water your plant. What is it? Water your
overflow.
I want to water your pot. You water my pot, and we're plants. We blossom together. There's beauty in that.
What plant are you?
And another thing, I think with the entire simping thing, guys will be like, oh, like I'm doing so much for a girl and she's not doing whatever in her life, and vice versa. A lot of women think that they get with a guy and he stops like putting in the effort. I think there's a beauty in being a witness to someone's life. If they're constantly evolving, you both evolve, you see different chapters and you grow together, and you embrace that. And that really is the foundation for a long-lasting relationship. That's my TED Talk.
Period. Also, I think what you just said about the whole, like, maybe I'm putting this much effort in or spending this much. I think that's where our generation or just anyone gets it so wrong, is relationships are not transactional in that sense. I think it's an exchange of, you're spending time with people and you're cultivating and developing. Once again, you're getting the honor on both parties to be witness of someone's life during this certain chapter. And I think you spoil that when you worry about these materialistic things or these worldly things. I think people, it's comforting to, align with toxicity and all these modern themes, but I think it's more rewarding to go beyond the status quo and you define what works for you. And it should be, I guess the spoiling thing, I don't think that's spoiling. I think it's, it's like an investment on both ends, how you spend time together. And it's not about the price tag, but it's really about the intention. And my love language is just quality time. And that's across the board, whether it's platonic, romantic, or with family. I just think there's something that is so precious about really giving each other your time and building together. Yes.
Wow.
Yo, that was beautiful, man. Like, I think sometimes you see so much of that, the toxic culture and the toxic stuff, and who's doing it? Oh, don't text back too fast. It just turns into like the transactional, the games, and things like that.
Yeah.
But like, that's a healthy medium that a lot of people don't understand. Like, they think it's this extreme, or like you either like lay back, don't care, and the one person does all the work, or you're doing all the work and overcompensating. But it doesn't have to be like that. It can be two people, watering each other's plants and blossoming into something that's really healthy and beautiful.
And also, it comes with age. At a certain time, if you just say you find yourself in a relationship and this other participant in this relationship is not reciprocating, that is grounds to terminate that relationship. I think that's where the resentment gets built in. No, this gender is this and this gender is that. And it's like, no, you should call it out if you see it. But I think also people, they like lies. Lies are much better than the truth. I think they rather lie to themselves about how connection is than really sit in the truth of it. Because I think it's more comforting to
sit in lies.
Wow. You wanna, do you have anything to... Okay, I guess at that point I don't know what I was going to say. But basically, I don't want us to overtalk you guys. I'm sorry, we keep going along to
No,
okay.
That's the whole point. Keep going.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna ask you guys, it's always good from the perspective of a male, have you found yourself where it's you needed to take a step back because it's someone you were aligned with? I'll ask that. Can I ask that? Do you guys mind?
Of course, you can ask whatever you want.
Okay, social security number?
So
you can do that too much, bro.
Right. The question I have for you gentlemen right here, can you think of a time in your life in your recent adulthood where you were talking with a woman or trying to build into a relationship, you realized you needed to take a step back because it just wasn't aligning and you just knew there wasn't longevity in the relationship, and how you navigated that because you didn't want to hurt feelings, That's loaded. That's a loaded question.
That's, funny, we're laughing right now because obviously something like that just happened to me.
Okay.
A few months ago, kind of going also back to the non-negotiables question that you had. There's some things that I'm not going to be with somebody that does a certain type of thing. And if I can even see it in the future, if I know, okay, this is going in that direction, I'll cut it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with somebody and something just didn't feel right with me. They said they wanted to do this. I was like, I'm not okay with that. And then just me thinking about it, just getting kind of just information from, I remember he told me something about marrying the family too. And I was like, yo.
Yeah.
Because family structure is really important. And people don't understand that. Yes, if you heal from your family trauma and things like that. But if you can see that and it's still alive and yo, this is, this can really go south if I if I continue this relationship, I know things can go south because this girl, like the trauma, like it can really do something. So I had to cut that out like almost immediately because I can't I've been in something like that before, and I'm not gonna do this again. I can't. The type of person that I want to be with for like my son, because that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
If it was just me, we'll have a good time, whatever. But I'm, thinking about my son. Like, yo, if I marry this girl, and my son has to kind of go through this or deal with that type of family, like, yo, that's not. I feel like my son's really like. I tell the kid, like, he's Black Panther, man. He's gonna be the king of Wakanda, bro.
Like, do you have a son right now?
No.
Okay.
You said you're on his future.
It's future stuff. Okay.
You don't have kids.
No.
Okay. Let's go. Sorry. Let's resume. I'm gonna let you go back to it.
It's just like I think about stuff like that. So I'm just like, yo, like my son, like going through this.
Your daughter.
That was like, yeah, my daughter too. I mean, I would have 2 sons.
That way. Like the vision board is going strong.
So. I mean, definitely not my daughter. Like, I was thinking about my son, but it's definitely like, heck no for my daughter too. So I was like, yeah, bro, I can't. Like, I'm not doing this. So.
That's really responsible of you. Because I feel like a lot of times, like, even if you hear from like family and like older friends who get in relationships and they see the red flags, they're very aware that things aren't right. And they were like, you know what, I'll keep doing this. And they kind of coast in it, and then coasting turns into this is the rest of my life, and then it's like
settling in it.
Certainly. And that's an issue. A lot of us settle because a lot of times we're lonely. Okay, I'll just settle. But you haven't done the inner work, and if you haven't done the inner work, you shouldn't be in a relationship.
I think it's so important to embrace solitude because being alone will,
discover
the
yourself.
desire to be in a relationship will not like surpass the
or we don't solve the problem.
solace.
I guess the appropriateness of the time to be in solitude. Okay. I never reworked that, but what I'm trying to say is some people are so afraid of being lonely, but I may be alone, but I'm not lonely. Thank you.
Wow.
So exactly. There's intention behind it. Like I told you, romanticize your life. And people a lot of times are looking for like a destination. They're looking like, oh, maybe I'll be happy if I have a boyfriend now.
Right.
Or
these conditional things,
or if I get a job, if I get engaged. But if you're not working on yourself,
I always say, if you're not happy within yourself, how are you going to be happy with someone else?
thank you, you're not.
Exactly.
It's going to reveal itself.
Exactly.
But I'm gonna bring this back to high school. I remember it was freshman year. And
10 years ago,
a while ago, and I remember this being like my science class or something, and somehow we just came to the discussion of like self-love, and this was like really early to be having that discussion. This is like back in 2012. I don't think that was like a huge thing in media, and I was saying, how could you love, expect others to love you if you don't love yourself? My teacher argued, well, actually, what you should minimize it to is how could you not like yourself? Like we have to start there because some people don't even love themselves.
Yeah.
And I guess at that young age I already had so much like high self-esteem I couldn't fathom what that's like to not love yourself. But I guess as I get older I understand where those barriers come, where some may not like themselves. And like the like is really attached to not feeling validated within, or maybe there's some shortcomings that they feel like is their identity and that they are bonded to these things that may have happened to them. So I think it's, sometimes it's almost like is bigger than love, because that's a bare minimum of just liking yourself. And when you think about any relationship, before you get into the stage of love, the like is having respect. And it's like the same way you want others to respect you. If you're not respecting yourself, or you're not practicing positive self-talk, that's horrible.
It's not that's as big as, sorry.
I understand where it comes from.
Sorry, I know he was like stuttering and stuff. I was thinking that's a large expectation to have other people to respect you and to value you if you don't encompass that for yourself.
And also to say, another thing that I have been a witness to in others' lives is even if someone is going through the stages of trying to find that balance of self-love and who they are, they're still worthy of being loved. If you have gone through something, that does not mean you self-isolate. I think it's responsible to, sit with those feelings and work through them, but I don't necessarily that means that you just abandon, you self-isolate, and you're not allowed to have any communication with people, because community heals. Friendships, community, people around you heals. So if something has happened to you and you feel like that has changed the trajectory of what you've expected of yourself, or maybe has changed how you perceive yourself, you're still worthy of love and respect from others. And it's okay if you need some time to rebuild yourself up, but you still are worthy of those things.
So, quick question, Nashon. So, you were talking with someone, you recognize things that wouldn't work out, like for the long haul.
Yeah.
So, navigating that, it was like a mature move on your end. How did she react, and how did you feel afterwards? Like, just like this.
That's personal.
That's next episode. Layers to this.
Okay.
Hey, thank you guys for coming to the podcast.
Okay, well, you asked another question. I was just gonna ask you.
No, you're good.
Okay, so I did this, like,
You're good.
Okay.
First, I want to say what Kat was saying. That was like phenomenal, man. Like that was like the fact that both of you two are like really self-aware and like about these things is like you almost got like a PhD in like self-awareness and love and relationship. And, like, that's really cool. So, as far as your question, you said, how did she react?
Yeah, how did she react? How did she take it out?
Well, we haven't really talked since, so it's not the best.
Not the best.
Definitely not the best, but like, that's just what it is,
How did you feel with yourself? 'Cause I know it's like you were trying to build a relationship and it's
Hey, Winning in Life hosted by Kat and the Visionary Boss.
Yes,
Hosted by Kat.
a lot of times we take a step back in a relationship or a friendship, and then, okay, we make that mature decision, but then there's the after effect of like how we feel.
The ripple effect.
The ripple effect. So how did you feel afterwards? She was upset. We know it's an honest human emotion. And how did you feel? Like, did you feel like you made a mistake, or you kind of were set with your decision?
I mean, there's no way I was going to go back on that. Like, it was too important to me to ever think about, maybe, we could, I think part of me was like, I wish it could have worked out, but just me wishing it could have worked out, me knowing that, hey, no matter what, like, it's not going to work. So I'm like, that's just something you have to let go. I didn't feel good about like hurting somebody. I don't think anybody feels good about that, but I knew it was the right decision to make, and, it's just something you got to move forward from and heal from. Like, even today, like, I hope, she moves forward for me. I don't want her thinking about me for the rest of her life. Like, no, heal from that. Go find somebody else. Go find somebody that, is okay with, whatever is going on in your life. Or I hope that she heals from her past and, like, her things that she's going with. Because, like, we were talking about the forgiveness, we can't just keep holding that on. So, but yeah, it's just a part of life. So I want to ask you two, because I'm getting something.
I know you're over here.
So,
barbecue pit master.
So has there been a time in your life where you had to like cut something off, or maybe that you stayed in something that you knew was kind of like, I shouldn't be in this thing, but let me. See
Or
where
like the red flags.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say like, early adulthood or like, out of high school, your world kind of like opens up and broadens. You meet different people, different backgrounds, lifestyles, like life experiences. And it's kind of like that, not a game, but it's like that lesson and like that learning, like, okay, so I mean, it's like when you're, a young adult, you're on the cusp of 18 years old, you're fresh in the world at the water, is like you're gonna meet a lot of different people and you're gonna reconnect with a lot of people, which I didn't kind of realize until I started in college, where it's like, hey, like I remember you from a long time ago. So then you start cultivating these relationships, and at first I will say it's like something is telling you that these aren't really my tribe of people, but maybe it's like comfort or like the longevity of like a past friendship that kind of anchors you.
For the convenience.
Proximity of those relationships. And then it's like you start, these relationships evolve and they kind of graduate to like other things, and then you start having really close friendships and like you're in relationships with actual people. And then it comes a point in time where it's like, this doesn't really feel like me, or it's like the way I imagine myself to be as a young adult. I'm in that, stage right now, but this isn't really what I was imagining as I was younger, And I feel like there is a level of wisdom when you're younger because it's like you kind of set your own path and you have these expectations and ideas, and then once you get older, you kind of steer away from that, and it's like, wait, I was kind of right all along, like the idealization that I had for my life. So it's like, why did I steer a different way or try to like accommodate other people? So I would say when I found myself like, in the relationships or like friendships or like people who really didn't match my true spirit and like my tribe, it's just me acknowledging it, and it's kind of like a weird feeling because you're kind of, sometimes it may feel like you've already like gone into the depths of like the emotions of these relationships. It's like, how do I break free from that? But you have to be true to yourself. So I would say for me, is like acknowledging it and then like trying to uncover the person who I was like once before. And then it's like, once you get closer to that, like you're, some people may get hurt feelings along the way, but as you get closer to like who you were before, you feel so comforted and like validated. And then you kind of realize like, this is like the decision I had to make. And I would say as far as like recent years, I'm like very careful about like who I talk to or like, try to say who I would be in a relationship with, because it's like, you don't get this time back. So just now being very careful, and I would say vetting people. Being mindful, intentional, and like vetting people. And the vetting process is really allowing people to show you who they are, and then believing that and trusting in that. It's like, okay, I see this, it's not so great, and then I'm going to move in a different direction. That's how I would say I've navigated that.
I know you're about to go off, bro.
And what are you about to say, Kayla? Because I feel like there's a lot of like...
No. You said vetting process, he said, yo,
because me and him, we have a thorough vetting process.
Okay.
So I love that you said vetting process.
Can I hear a little bit of this?
I want to answer. I get to answer. Okay. No.
Ready for monologue part 3. 3. Cut that out.
We're ready for it, man.
Similar to what Nishan said about there being non-negotiable and having to have that hard conversation, I've experienced that, not often because similar to Kaylan, I try to be very mindful and intentional, but of course, as time takes its course, people have a way of truly revealing who they are, and there might be a little sprinkle of it in some parts, but eventually comes to the point where you're just really faced with it. So in a situation where there were just some, for me, respect and just really holding and operating as an honorable person, and not in the sense that you're doing it for show, but really just being a good person. And I'm not really about nice people, I'm about kind people, because I feel like people can be nice, but something about a kind, like golden-hearted person. So there's a situation where someone had kind of like what is the word for it? A track record of kind of showing a little bit of problematic behavior, and came to a point where it was like this situation is like, that's really not cool. And I guess let me kind of add some layers to this. The relationship had already dissolved, but there was the idea of still being cordial and being friends
between you and this person.
Okay. And I guess there's also like a sense of maybe both parties wanting closure, but I think closure is overrated. So
wait. Actually, that. What do you mean by closure is overrated?
I think sometimes you can just pack up your feelings and your time, and just get on.
I know.
Go on the next train.
Whoa.
I think you have a point, because sometimes like when people go seek closure, it ends up dissolving into more mess.
Because the thing is with closure, what is closure really? Are we both like acknowledging something going our separate ways, but then when emotions keep getting brought back into it,
a lot of times emotions keep coming, and we keep texting, calling, and then I still like you. Oh, never mind, no more closure.
It's all emotions and no action or resolution.
You're just very reactive. So I say this to say, just being friends, but even with friends, I feel like there still is a level of respect, and also like the outside world, how others are infiltrating or may have some type of contributions into that relationship. And it was just a situation that it was something that I felt like, hey, like whether this was a platonic or romantic, like this is something that's a non-negotiable. And I was a bit reactive about it, because I guess I'd always found myself in a place of being very accommodating to people and not wanting to rock the boat, because when you do have those harder conversations, that can bring conflict. But someone really wise told me that when it comes to conflict, sometimes, so I guess with conflict, the bottom line, the common denominator is that there's going to be conflict. And you can't be scared of it, because either what happens is, A, you really harbor your feelings and emotions and you're upset and resentful, and the other person is not, or it's like vice versa. They may be upset, but isn't it better to like get the words out in an appropriate way, but get the words out, and even with the risk of someone being upset?
Thank you for saying appropriate way. I think that a lot of times with reactiveness, people automatically assume that it's being combative, and
but I think it comes to a boiling point. So my situation was very reactionary, and it was very human.
Reactionary on his part?
On her part. No, my part. On her part.
Or on both parts.
Let me speak for myself. It was on my part, but also it was like a lot of denial from someone else, and it just wasn't healthy or good. It's like, you know what? Like, closure can be, and not always, but can be a little bit overrated at times, and some things are non-negotiable, and I had to like remove myself from the situation. And one thing in life, I've never been uncomfortable with removing myself. I learned that very on, that sometimes removing yourself from an issue is like necessary to get forward and move past it. But I know it's obviously not an easy thing, so I had to go through the motions of that. But you know, the way things have, you know, time has passed and things kind of come full circle, and you hear about other situations, it's like, wow, I was right on the fence I was standing on. So basically, closure is the gum on your shoe. Okay. No, it's the gum on your shoe, but I think it takes two parties. I guess that's we look at the definition of closure, because I feel like everyone has such different like definitions, and what the expectation. I think that's another thing is when relationships, romantic or platonic, when they come to an end and maybe they're revived in a sense. What does that really mean? How is this person still in your life or may not be in your life? What are these terms that we're both in alliance with? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like what you just said is a good definition of closure. It's like, what are the terms, you know, now that we're not together? So do we still talk, or we're going to be friends, or and sometimes there are no terms. Like, you don't set those terms. Sometimes somebody just walks out of your life and it's just like, boom. And sometimes you just have to deal with that. Like, okay, we're not going to say the terms, but you're like, wait, why are you just walking out? Then you try to text and call, and maybe we can do this. And everybody's just trying to set the terms in their own way. Well, I know we're not together, but can we still do this, or can we do that? And it's like, you just have to accept them whether you like them or not.
I want to ask you guys, do you believe that someone can still be friends after being romantically involved? And should you still be friends?
I would say that, I answer. I'll let you like kind of, you know, get your thoughts together. Oh, okay. So going from, a friendship to a relationship back to a friendship, I would say there's levels to it. I mean, I guess that's the name of the title of this podcast is Levels to It. Clearly. This episode is Levels to It. I would say it really depends. It was a respect there at the end of the day. Because there's some times where a relationship might start off with you just jumped the gun and it was like, ooh, straight romance. And other times it was, we know each other.
We built a friendship.
Paced it out. We paced it out. You know, we have an understanding. We were very level-headed about it, and we wanted to maintain that respect. And then other times, again, you just jump the gun, and I don't really believe in doing that, because what good comes from just jumping into romance? Is it to last forever? No. This is another topic for another day, but I feel like if you want something to last for a long time, take your time with it, because what's the rush?
Right.
But as far as like maintaining a friendship afterwards, personally, me, looking back in my life, when certain doors close, they close for a reason. So it's like we have different maturity levels, and it's like I can accept and evolve in my mind that, okay, we're not together anymore. Like, I can settle in being with myself. Like, I don't have to rush to be friends with you or rush to like seek the world out for a new connection. I could just be still with myself. And then most of the time when you're still with yourself, you kind of come to realize, I don't really need this friendship. Like, nothing wrong with being cordial. Like, why do I need to talk to this person like all the time again?
You know, like you were saying, there's a season for every. It's a person for every season. But there's a reason for every season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need a person for every season.
Yeah, you don't need a person. there's a reason that
Okay.
the season closed or
That's a hallmark. That's a hallmark.
There's a reason that that chapter was closed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm moving on. But what about you, Kat?
I think you do what works for you. I don't think there's a perfect answer. I think sometimes when things have been strained so much in a relationship, whether romantic or platonic, it does not make any sense to try to bring it back together. I guess the metaphor I can give is it's like you have a tube of toothpaste. If you squeeze all of it out, it's hard to get it back in. So
Really? No, I'm kidding.
How much toothpaste do you have?
I'm never really poured it back in.
But you see what I'm saying? Or maybe it's bleach on a black t-shirt. Now you've got all this orange dye and it's disintegrating. It's really hard to repair some things. So I think it's definitely where it makes sense for you. And I think as beautiful as that sounds, the friendship after this or that, but honestly, sometimes things really hurt and you need time and separation. But I don't think that means that there's immaturity there or it's a negative thing. You can decide not to rekindle something.
Can I say something else too? I feel like if you absolutely know someone was like emotionally destructive and abusive to you, mentally abusive, no, it's not grounds to be friends again. Even if time passes, because if they were capable of doing that before, you don't deserve to go through that again. So I will say, if you know for sure someone is not good to you, no friendship is needed. You can find better people. Like I
wish we
swear.
could get like the statistic about the number of people who have tried to rekindle like past romances or friendships, and like what is the rate of those now? Like, did those friendships survive after they were rekindled? No. Well, some.
I mean, there's instances,
Okay.
you know, it's on a base, you know.
I don't want to say, man. I don't want to say it.
Wait.
And, you know, there's levels to this. Or,
There's levels to this. You should have a button that says levels to this.
I don't know what other way to put it. There is levels.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I think Kat said, like, you know, it depends on the situation. But you definitely need time. Like, I wouldn't want to talk to one of my exes without, like, 100% healing. Like, no contact. If it takes 6 months, 12 months, whatever, like, until, like, both of us are healed, I don't want something to come back up and be like, oh, you know, what about yada, yada, yada. I think it's possible. But when you say friends, you don't have to jump into being best friends again.
Yeah.
You can just be cordial. Like, hey, how you doing?
Acquaintances. I think that's what the issue is.
The stipulation.
But I think the issue is, and maybe not, maybe it's just me, but sometimes when you say like being friends again, it's like actually, you know, with healing comes time and time passes and people, I'm not gonna say necessarily change, but they may evolve, and there's just certain things that may not work anymore. So we really have to start off at the baseline of acquaintances, because you have to get to know someone again. At a friendship, you think of warmth, you think of like the trust. But if trust was broken, it's like you can't really jump into friends. You kind of have to go before that. And I think really putting the work in to get to the point where you can be established as friends again, but it may not happen overnight.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we're talking about relationships and stuff. So what are you guys' biggest red flag? I can't, you know, you're non-negotiables.
You know what's really funny about that? So I feel like the red flags, like that's like a huge thing, like dominates like, you know, who you choose. But a few years ago I had this like shift in perspective. I said, you know, instead of worrying about all the things I don't like, let me emphasize all the things that I do like, and then I'll attract those things and like really write it all out there. So can I tell you my green flags?
Go ahead.
Okay.
He was like, no, give us that.
Wait. I like what you said, right?
Yeah.
But
You still want those red flags?
so, because like, for example, let's say you want to, no, go ahead.
I was just saying, what if, you know, he has all the good things, but he also happens to be, you know, a huge drug dealer wanted by the FBI, you know,
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, but he has so many,
But yeah,
he respects his mother.
He's really nice.
But what if he's a really respectful mother, but he just bugger you sometimes?
But why does this sound like a horrible movie? It's like you either get someone who's like, that's just so unfair. There's like Kaylan said, there's more than 2 lanes. Why does it have to be like they're nice? Blah, 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 like why? That is not cool.
But like, what if something like,
Also,
he's a great guy, but I just can't.
but what is the can't?
No, that's what I'm asking you.
Okay, can't. Well, I really do feel like Again, it's gonna sound so cheesy, Caleb. I try to focus on the positive. I swear, like I just try to focus on like things that I really want and those things that are strong and they will surpass any red flag.
Also,
Yeah.
I think when it comes with age and experience and like meeting people and like knowing yourself, I think you don't sift through garbage. And I'm being straight up about that. A lot of interactions I have with people, I've never, I definitely have bumped my head or had to learn things, but the entry level was not in the trash can.
Okay, what was the entry level?
No, what I'm saying is, just so basically, people are always like, oh my god, these red flags, but you set yourself up in a way where now people who you meet, it's like they're not going to even touch those red flags. Or it's even like your career at a certain point, when you get to mid-management level and senior level, there's just certain things when you're being interviewed, it's so, the way I like to put it, and I guess it's with experience, when you're first starting your career, your entry level, and it's like the need and want for the job. And then eventually you start working entry level and you see certain things about company culture and what it's like to work in corporate life and just certain things about relationships and even yourself. You eventually graduate to mid-management and senior management, and it's like then interviews and everything is different because now it's when you're interviewing or vetting things, it's not really about trying to prove yourself. It's also considering, do I even like this myself? So I think it's when you're younger, it's like, oh, does so-and-so like me? But then you graduate to, do I even like them?
Yeah.
So the whole thing about this gender is trash or, oh my gosh, so many red flags. But I guess I've been blessed in the way I navigate and move.
Yeah.
I've only aligned with, currently like relationships, platonic or romantic, with people who actually are my people.
Yeah,
and it does take work, but I think it's just how the energy you put out into the world and like who you seek. And it really makes no sense for me to, if I literally see like a flaming hot red flag or something that is so trash, I'm not gonna even interact with that. And just to bring it back, the show Different World, I can't remember exactly the scripting, but I remember, was it Whitney or Whitley? Whitley and Dwayne.
Yeah.
So something about, she's like, I love a rich man, and he was like, well, I'm not a rich man, and it's like, no, you're rich in spirit, or all these qualities we were listing. It's like, of course that would be a rich man, and this is besides like the whole rich thing, but I'm just saying the quality of people.
Yeah.
When you operate at a certain frequency, and you have a certain standard, you're gonna find people who are also rich in spirit. And I think that's really like being accountable with like the spaces you're putting yourself in. So say you're a certain area in your life and you have certain goals, and especially past 25, I hope that frontal lobe is fully developed. You're not gonna entertain certain things, and it's just like literally things just click, and you're not gonna sift through the trash. You're not gonna even experience like these harshness of certain realities because you have already like graduated past that.
Yeah.
So that is my answer.
So I would say that instead of focusing too much on red flags, I think of like what is my true type, and then I really hone in on that feeling. And I can promise you, I've met people, whether it's platonic or romantic, the past like I'd say year or so, and it's like, okay, it's a reminder that I'm on the right track. Like, you could even just like go out and meet people. It doesn't have to be romantic or develop into that. But it's like, wow, I can just accept the fact that like I was right all along. No kidding.
Even when they said, when people brought up, let me finish my thought. I was like,
Okay,
Yeah, keep that train of thought.
Alright, get your thoughts. Basically, so when you already know like what's your true type, it's like you can go out in the world and you meet people, even if it's platonic, and you meet people who really align with that. And it's like, wow, it's refreshing. It's like, okay, this really is what I like. And I've come to realize I like people who are good conversationalists, who are polished but down to earth, who are people, people you can just like laugh with, have a good time, but also dive deeper into serious topics and like plan together. I'm a huge planner, so I feel like I really embrace those feelings of what I would want in a partner, and I've met people, and people have given me reminders that those are good qualities to want in a partner.
I didn't expect to learn something today, but you guys are phenomenal. Like,
Thank you.
thank you.
I think, we're so used to kind of just focusing on, we don't want that, nah, we can't do that. But that's that's so true. Like, if you focus like on the good, you'll attract more of that because you get what you focus on. And if you focus on what you don't want, a lot of the times, that's what you get.
Yes, and I went out with some girlfriends before, and it's like that, again, that topic of like, oh, guys are like this, and then guys are like, oh, girls are like this, and then they were kind of just like really emphasizing all of like the things that they didn't like, and then who were out and guys approached them and like these are guys that you guys would actually like, but they were so focused on things they didn't like, they completely missed like an opportunity to like see what was in front of them that they actually do like, you know, because they were settling in that negative emotion and feeling.
Right, you gotta set yourself up for success, man. You can't. That's so crazy, man. I wonder like how many times I've done that. You know, with anything, just when hey, I got this for you. Nah, bro, I don't want this though. Like, but this is what you want. Nah, but I don't want like like,
Right.
kind of like that. But, like, that's crazy, man. That's good.
Thank you.
What were you saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying back to what you had said about the one relationship you were in, and you kind of noticed certain red flags that you had experienced before. I think being able to identify certain I guess that's the buzzword, but the awareness of, okay, this seems familiar. I don't want to repeat this. I don't want to relive this. So I even if it's just like you see it subtly, just seeing a little bit of something from the past, it's like, I think that is improvement. That is showing like that you've evolved to even point something out and to know like, hey, I already can tell this isn't going to work for me. This won't be for me. And I think a lot of people, what we do is sometimes, it may not be, back to back, but after time has passed, you might come up against like the same challenges you had before and like maybe your biggest heartbreak or something was a big disappointment. But I think that's so awesome that if you do notice it right away, it's like you know to run away from smoke.
Ooh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Do you know how to run away from smoke, Caleb?
I always do. But
You always do.
transition. That was beautiful, guys. Thank
It
you.
really was.
Thank you. So you go by the visionary boss. How did that corporation? How did you come up with the visionary boss?
Visionary boss. Oh.
And then what does it entail? Because we were talking about Girl Who Hurt You. We know that she's an author. She's doing great things, obviously.
Yes.
How did you come up with that?
I would say the visionary boss was really like something that was organic that happened like from my youth. Like when you're young, you're kind of moonstruck with the idea of how you're going to evolve as an adult, like your dream career, how do you want your life to like be like and like feel like. And I feel like I would say even back when I was early in elementary school, I really had like a love for like music videos, for television, like really good photographers, directors. And I was always like a creative fueled person. So then as I got older, I kind of stuck with that feeling and I would watch a lot of talk shows. I would read a lot of blog publications. And I was like, you know what, one day I'm going to create something that emphasizes like wellness, lifestyle, and entrepreneurship because, it's always like a fun idea to think of like working for yourself or creating something. So I would say by the time I was in middle school, I got really into like writing and reading. And I had like a deep appreciation for like English and like language arts. So I wanted to like understand like formatting and like structure and create something. And then by the time I was in high school, you have like required reading and assignments, but I would take it a step further and like really see how that material related to me. And I would start doing a lot of like free writing, short stories, and then eventually that evolved into blog posting. I remember we were on Tumblr when we were in high school. That was like our favorite thing to do. Like a lot of people would be out on a Friday night. I'd be in my room on Tumblr, reblogging things, and then I would find like a lot of photos and content. And it's really funny how like a photo can say like 1,000 words because a lot of people on Tumblr, they did have blogs, but most of it was just like a recirculation of photos people liked and of different lifestyles and different subcultures and things. So I really appreciated that. And then I would say by the time I got into like junior year in high school, well actually sophomore year. So when I was a sophomore, Katera and I entered a pageant.
Kat and I.
Sorry.
This is
So Kat, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't go ahead,
I don't think
Sarah.
it's really
Sorry.
like that?
I just have the separation because
For legal and like personal.
Even beyond that, just like with work and things, I like to have like
Okay, so Kat.
a separation.
So when we were sophomores in high school, we both entered a pageant. And the idea of the pageant, of course, is like the glitz and glamour of it, but I was not prepared for how much evolution of the mind, how much communication was involved with that, and like building a platform. I've never experienced branding. I've never experienced something like that. Like such like in a short period of time where we really had to create a brand for ourselves. We had to do like so many rounds of interviews and like talk with people who have, are in that industry. So it really opened up our world, and learning poise and like presentation. And I think that in public speaking, those were really big things that they focused on. So we entered the pageant, and while we were doing it, for us, it was just like a really fun experience. I think we didn't take ourselves too seriously.
But we won first and second place.
We did. Yeah, so she won. I was first runner-up. She was first place. And I remember the question they had asked us for the second round was, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be? And then I was thinking of all these words. And I was like, well, I know I'm very passionate about things. I know I'm detail-oriented. I pay attention to aesthetics. And I was like, you know what? I'm a visionary, because no matter where I am in life, if I've never been there before, I can always anchor onto a feeling of like familiarity. Yeah. Let's put that for now. I was like, I'm gonna butcher that. Okay.
It's literally
No matter.
No, the soundbite, just like take what I said and make it okay.
So basically, no matter where I am in life, it's like a new chapter in life. I've never been here before. Even today, I've never been here before. But I always try to find like something that's familiar and close to home. So I told them I was a visionary, and it stuck with me. And then I remember when I was a senior in high school, we had a lot of our final projects and like capstones. And as a joke for one of the projects, I ended it with like directed by the visionary boss, and everyone just started laughing. But it wasn't like in a mocking way. It was just like, wow, like that's pretty dope. Like you think very highly of yourself.
How rich of her. How dare she?
I know, how dare she, whatever. But I think it was like a really like sweet moment. And then for me, it was like, wow, I thought it was kind of cute and kind of funny that I put that as like a project, like the visionary boss. And then by then I created a blog. So this was 2015. I worked on like creating blog posts and like getting content together. And then I eventually started online boutique. And then by 2016, like right after I graduated high school, I like with my graduation money, I bought myself like this nice like big iMac, and I wanted to create more content and do videos and YouTube, so like cooking and wellness. And then I hit publish on the Visionary Boss July of 2016, and we're here today. It's kind of evolved into me talking about wellness, health, lifestyle, relationships. Like the Visionary Boss serves as like an online publication or I would imagine it to be like a magazine, essentially. Right. So it's kind of evolved to that. I have a lot of readers. I remember hitting 10,000 views within like 3 months of the Visionary Boss, because I really love talking about obviously like fashion and wellness and health, but I wanted to talk about like share stories of other people. So I remember I shared a story of an athlete, Khalil Pimpleton. That was one of my first like athlete features and sports features, and sharing the story of like the grit and like the resilience of an athlete.
Right. And just to chime in, I think with the visionary is being able to see like the potential in something or what that can evolve to. So you interviewed Khalil at that time when he was just starting like college football, but now he's playing pro football.
Yes.
There was something about being able to see like, hey, I know that's going to be something. So I think that's a gift with being a visionary, because
thank you.
Even if you don't have all the tools and resources to have something completely actualized, I guess it's a gift. There's some type of
inkling. You just know.
I think that comes with like a trained eye and having good taste.
Yeah. So I would say like I would interview a lot of different people and share their stories, and then of course, like by default, they're gonna be great and amazing. And it's like I was able to share their story from the beginning. So that's kind of what it's evolved to now. And I want to continue growing the Visionary Boss. I have new things coming out. And for like anyone who's like watching, as far as like the Visionary Boss, or you think of like being a boss or this or that, I think at the end of the day, you can reach like material success, you can hit these different milestones, but like there is like richness in like, creating a lane for yourself and, governing yourself and being your own boss. Doesn't mean you have to like hustle and do all of this or that or be one way or that way. It's like you take care of yourself, have a vision for yourself, and then go after it. It's that simple.
So that's like that's a whole new I guess perspective on like the boss babe.
Oh, I know. Don't you remember like back in like the mid 2010s? It was like, oh, boss babe, whatever. Yeah.
But I like that. Like it's not necessarily just being going after your bag. People can still do that.
Right.
But really just like
take control of your life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Self-governing, being a boss over yourself. So I like that. I like that way more than the boss babe stuff.
That was beautifully said. So where do you guys see yourself now? What's the next big step?
Next big step?
That you guys envision yourself?
Well, I won't share too much because I'm a firm believer it's always good to work on things.
Work in silence.
Work in silence. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's good to have like an executed project versus just talking the talk. Can you walk the walk? Yeah, but I would say the next step for me, I mean, with the visionary boss, again, that's kind of a lane that I define for myself. So it takes me looking to see other opportunities and projects I want to do. But I will say I have more projects coming out, and that stays true to like the art of writing and published books. I'll just say that.
Yes.
So next for me, I think it's just continuing the conversation of Girl Who Hurt You, and just really building a community, because I think that was what really helped me. Even 2017, that's when I self-published, but even now, to still have so much love and support is the community. And I realized that this impacts and touches and resonates with like so many. So I keep having those conversations, because when I started this journey of writing this, I was literally in high school, and obviously, only so much life had been lived at that point. But I think with me just really taking the time to keep evolving and letting time pass, because a lot of people wanted like a quick follow-up to the book. And I actually had started that and had some pieces together just to pick up right where we left off. But I think there's a beauty in just like living life, and a lot of my opinions about things have changed. I think that's so important for
Thank
growth.
God, right?
Thank God.
It's part of growth.
It is a part of growth, but a lot of things and opinions have changed. But I think, when it comes that time for me to press play on book 2, I'll still keep those parts from many years ago, because I think that's still important to honor that time, because, even though there's been growth has happened, that still is very pivotal, and it's very time stamped and made sense for that time. But I'm really excited to show, in this next body of art, that I can have 2 different eras, right when Girl Who Hurt You kind of dissolved, and also the start of a new renaissance, a new era, if you will. So I'm very excited about that. So definitely just building more community on book 2, and just finding different immersive, creative ways to have these really important conversations in a more public setting.
What's next for Nation and Caleb? Because I love what you're doing now, but what's next?
We always working.
Always working.
Man, Miami, LA, man, who knows?
We
Europe, bro.
You might Mars, the world. We got, real talk though, we got some things in the work. So we have, we're building a super team. We got a good group of guys around us. I believe it's better to do life with, good people around you. So we're working on some things. Just know we're gonna announce some things.
Yeah. You guys probably know, I just started a media company. So I've just been working on that. I love film, videography. I did some for, here, right over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to go that full speed ahead, man.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes.
Oh, okay.
All gas.
Like on that note.
But I want to thank you guys so much for being here.
Real talk.
I would like to say that, I've known you guys for years now, and I'm very proud to see y'all grow. Y'all doing great things, and I love it. You guys gonna keep winning. So, but we always like to live on a high note, obviously. What is one final message that you would like to leave someone that watching that could be one word of encouragement, to keep going, or whatever you guys have in your heart, a final message to
5 seconds or less.
Okay,
So I got mine already.
All right, go ahead.
Keep on pushing. My grandpa used to always say that, and I love this song by The Impressions, but it's so real. You have to keep on pushing. And a lot of times, that can be hard when you're just really in the thick of it and you can't see the light. But I'm telling you, if you keep on pushing, things come full circle, and you'll see why certain things make sense.
I like that. I would say never be afraid to change your mind. And that could serve as so many different things, but it's okay to change your opinion about things and to evolve and to change your path. It's never too late, and I feel be open to that. You don't have to live life in just in one way, make one decision. This is the rest of your life. Never that case. Never the case for that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, what's yours?
What's yours?
We usually save it for our guests because it's our podcast.
But if I can just chime in one more thing. I think what you guys are doing is amazing, and just young men and beyond, just having emotional intelligence and talking with their feelings is something that's so rare to see. Well, I guess I'll say it's rare to see in media, but I know community and conversations are happening in real life. But I think to amplify these really intimate feelings, it can be hard, but it's so rewarding and it's going to serve so many.
Yeah, it's just a refreshing platform. I feel like it's touched many like men or women, so
Thank you, guys.
it's great. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So we have more episodes in another season.
Real talk,
Thank you.
man. Sure.
Any word, my co-host?
I want to say, check out Kat Styles' book, man.
Oh,
Girl
yes.
Virtue.
Right
Yo,
here, Girl
that book
Virtue.
fire, man.
Fire, man.
Link will be in the description.
Link will be in the description.
And check out thevisionaryboss.com.
Yes.
And check out girlwhohurtyou.com.
Oh yeah, that
Facts.
too. And with that being said, we're gonna keep winning in life. See you guys on the next episode.
Yes, sir.